Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Left of Str8 Show Interviews, the premier podcast that shares the stories of our amazing LGBTQ community and, of course, fantastic straight allies, all from entertainment, foodies, books, music, and advocacy. I'm your host, as always, Scott Fullerton, and let's start talking. Welcome back, friends, to the Left of Str8 Show Interviews, the premier talk radio spot for our LGBTQ community and our wonderful straight allies. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce a special guest who brings a unique blend of artistry and humor to stages and screens around the globe. Viral ventriloquist and all-around artist Landon Harvey is in studio with me. They've captured hearts with their dynamic performances and engaging online presence. He's a master of his craft. Landon not only entertains, but also inspires, showing the power of creativity and expression in every performance. From literally creating their own show from the ground up to sharing their work with millions on his social media and podcasting channels, to actually educating the next generation of puppeteers with the Ventriloquist University, Landon is definitely one to watch. Take a look.
Don't touch me. I'm very emotional right now. I don't want to be touched. I don't want you to look at me like that. Hi. My name is Landon, and I'm Bill the Zombie. I haven't done a TikTok in a while. Yeah, no one cares. Well, some people might be wondering, why are you touching me? Sorry. Why? Can I eat your brain? No. Okay. Stop asking me. What? Stop asking me. Okay, maybe later? No. Is it like a scheduling conflict? That's not a scheduling conflict. I don't want you eating my brain. You know, sharing is caring. Bill, what?
How long did it take you for you to get so good at ventriloquism? How long did it take you? I gotta know. I wanna know. Can you show me? How do you do ventriloquism? Well, it's a series of things, yes, that cause you to be mental. Now, you have to be mental before you start. It helps. A little bit, yeah. It's kind of funny, though. What? The better of a ventriloquist you are, right, the less creepy it looks, right? Because the creepy ventriloquists, right, are the ones that are hacky, right? And they got the dead puppet, right, and they look crazy because you can see that they're clearly talking for the puppet, right? But it's actually...
How old is he? He seems wise. And maybe little. But? What? But what? Weren't you going somewhere with that? No, I'm staying here. You're saying I may be little. You are? No, what? You said I may be little. I didn't say anything about you. Okay, biscuit. Where's your biscuit? No, what? Hold on. What? You said, although you may be little. You calling me little? No, what? You said that you were little. I said I was little? Yeah. I would have remembered that. No, you said it. I did? Yeah. How did I not remember that? No, I didn't say it. Yeah, you did. No, I didn't.
Well, Landon, welcome to the Left of Str8 Show, my friend. I have become obsessed with you in a good way, watching all these videos and past podcasts. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely, Scott. Thank you for having me.
Well, I am so impressed with your talent, my friend. It's just so great to see all the success you've been doing. You have millions of followers on TikTok and so much fun on social. It looks like you're having a good time, and that's what I like the most. I mean, you got to be enjoying this when you're in the public eye. If you're not enjoying it, it's kind of not a fun place to be. So good on you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as we're having fun and as long as it's resonating with people, I think is the biggest thing. At first, I started this and I did it for myself, and then it kind of grew, and now it's for the people, and that's a hard thing to balance, but I'm having a lot of fun with it, and it's neat to see what pops off.
I bet. Well, I can't believe you started at age 6. Talk about the background. Where did you grow up? What kind of a kid were you? And what kind of got you started at this at 6 years old? I couldn't even spell ventriloquism at 6 years old.
Neither could I. I couldn't until I was about 14. I started ventriloquism when I was 6. I was, up till recently, I've always lived in Plano, Texas. which I just tell people Dallas because no one really knows where Plano is, but it's about an hour from Dallas. And I was a very introverted kid, very very wallflower kind of boy. Um, and I had a ventriloquist that was hired by our school to perform a routine for Red Ribbon Week. It was a Red Ribbon Week kind of don't do drugs and that kind of show. And it had good morals and all of that kind of stuff. And he had puppets and a beautiful set, and it was so overwhelming for my creativity that it sparked this love of ventriloquism in me. And I remember seeing him perform and going, how do I do that? I want to do that. And 17 years later, here I am. So I've since become friends with the gentleman. His name is Dennis Lee, and is known as the Nana Pudding guy, Dennis Lee, and Nana Pudding Productions, or Dennis Lee Productions. And I've become friends with him. I've gotten to build puppets for him, and he's been a mentor to me. So I mean, what a full circle moment that was. But yeah, I mean, I started when I was 6 years old. I was doing little things like bringing my puppet in for show and tell in class. I'd save up our little good tickets that we'd get from good behavior or whatever when we turn our assignments in early, and I would submit the tickets so I could bring a new puppet in and show it to my friends. And I realized that by having this puppet next to me, I had the attention on me, but at the same time, if I put the puppet away, the attention was off of me. So it was like my own kind of little fame superpower kind of thing. And that was an interesting thing to navigate throughout what became elementary school, then middle school. Got into theater for a little bit, and then focused more on ventriloquism throughout high school, and here we are.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, did your parents buy you puppets? I mean, we're going to talk about your company that you created in a bit, but did you kind of just make things from scratch at home, or did your parents buy you? How did you start finding these puppets?
I started, I think every young ventriloquist wants the typical ventriloquist figure, which is like the one made out of wood, and it's got this slot jaw, and it looks like what you would expect a
Right.
ventriloquist to have. I had a toy version of that when I was about, gosh, I don't know, 10. And before that, my father, who went on trips for work, brought me back a pirate puppet. And that was my first puppet. I got that when I was 6 years old. I named it Chips Ahoy after the cookie snack, and I was 6, and I thought that was hilarious at the time. Um, but yeah, it always kind of started with me. I had never really done puppet building until I was about 17. And I kept asking my parents for new puppets and things because my attention would see something shiny and go, I want that. And my parents were always like, you can do this art, we're fine, we'll support you, but if you want a puppet or if you want to have this element for your show or if you want to do this, you have to earn it. And or you have to save up your money. My parents were always like that, and it's built me into the person I am today.
Nice.
So in 2017, I had a friend that had started building puppets. His name is Langston Hatch. He is now he does drag, and he is part of the LGBTQ plus community. He's wonderful, and he was doing these beautiful puppets. And I messaged him. I said, where are you getting these puppets from? And he's like, oh, I'm building them. And I was astounded. He had since been a puppeteer and also a ventriloquist. But I didn't realize that building puppets was such a tangible thing in terms of the opportunities. And so I kept pestering him on Messenger. And then he said, you know what, I'll just send you some patterns and you can try it for yourself. And then I started working with those patterns, and I was insatiable with that. And so I started creating my own patterns. And that has eventually snowballed into building for people worldwide and turning into the puppets that I have and use today. I hope I answered your question.
Amazing.
I don't know if that
you did. And if you want a good costume, for sure get a drag queen involved, and I'm sure just the mechanics underneath it is not that too much difficult to do. So smart man. I like that a lot. When did you first kind of started discovering voices for these people? I mean, I've heard you even say that kind of it's little bits and pieces of your personality that inhabit each of these characters that you've made. Where do these voices come from in your head, and how do you kind of put them to the character?
I think since age 6, I realized that the whole illusion had to be very solid for me. And at age 6, I was giving a gruff voice to my pirate puppet, as hard as that was to do, being, adolescent. But the voices come from all over. Sometimes the character process starts with a voice that I already have.
or that I'm emulating from a cartoon, or maybe it's an impression, but I'm not really an impressionist, so it's like my take on an impression. They all sometimes it's someone I hear over here at lunch in a deli, or it's a friend I have, or a quirk that someone has that I pick up on and add to a character. I try to not direct where I draw inspiration from and just kind of let it happen. Bill the Zombie was a voice that I had for a previous puppet that didn't work out, and then when I wanted to do a zombie puppet, the voice was already there, and it kind of merged together as this eureka moment. Jackie was a voice of a guy from the Midwest, a friend of mine that I realized that I could do, and then we developed a character around that voice, and that voice was a lot slower of a voice. It was kind of like this, hey, how's it going? And then over doing all these TikToks and these live streams, I realized this was back when TikTok you could only do like 2-minute videos or whatever. I realized that the character had to be faster, and so the voice went faster too, and that developed into the character. And Jackie being ADHD, phone that I'll keep audios of, or sometimes I'll watch a podcast and go, oh, that lady has a great voice, or that guy, I love the intonation of his voice. So it's just really everywhere. Yeah. And it happens at random too, and that's the fun.
Nice. And you have like 4 or 5 core characters that you've created, but I'm sure you've done jillions over your lifetime here. How many puppets do you currently have
what a question.
play back and
I
forth
have
with, and how many do
probably
you kind
4 or
of
5 that
work
are
with at
my
a time?
main guys, and that I would say that are in my show if you come and see my show. And then I've got probably the same amount that are just background puppets, or things that I build and don't sell, or whatever. Stuff in limbo. Yeah.
And what was the first one that ever kind of hit with the audiences? What was your first big hit? Was that Jackie, or what was their
I would
first big
say
character that came to life and kind of exploded?
I think it varies. I think for on stage stuff, my oldest character that I still use today is Mervin, who's this senior kind of ladies man character, and I've had since 20. I think he was one of my first puppets that has just evolved, and I've rebuilt him since. So probably since 2017, actually, when I started building puppets. The one that most people gravitate toward to now is Jackie, or I would say Bill. But what I've realized is I thought I had one audience, and then you realize that as a ventriloquist and being able to identify through all these different characters and all these different personas, that every character speaks to a different age range, a different audience. And that's why people come to see me, or they follow me on social media. So that's been a real treat, seeing who comments on what character and why they're commenting.
Right.
Yeah.
I bet. I love that. That's fantastic. Now, I want to get into it. You started this original dummy company, so you're creating your own puppets now. Talk about, is there anything that kind of inspires you early on for that, or where does the journey go to? What was your first costume you designed, or what
it was
first
rough,
puppet
Scott.
you designed
It was
was a hit?
It was a troll puppet. I built this nasty looking troll puppet, and not nasty like, oh, trolls are nasty creatures, but it was just nasty because you could see the stitching, and I highlighted the shadowing with like black Sharpie, and it was just very in your face. But I was so proud of it, and I was, posted a video on Facebook. I was 16. I looked like I was 12. Posted a video displaying the puppet, and I had a gentleman message me saying, I saw the way that you performed and demonstrated that puppet, and I'd love to buy it from you. And that guy's name is Joe Gandelman, and he and I are very good friends since, and he's been a mentor and a guide to me in this art, and I've built multiple puppets for him since then. But that's kind of what started it. That was the original dummy. And then I realized, I can make pretty good money at this. And I had never had a real job, so I was just performing kids shows mainly all over the DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth area. And from there, I realized, I'm naturally introverted, so I like to have something to tinker with on my downtime. And so I started taking custom orders for puppets. So I think it took me about 4 puppets after that troll to confidently take orders. But that's kind of what it started with. And then I was building puppets out of my parents' garage, and they were supportive of it because I wasn't wasting my money on puppets. I was building my own stuff and making money. And then that turned into what I have now, which is a studio in Las Vegas. So great.
Fantastic. Well, we'll put the Original Dummy Company website up at the end here because you do some amazing work and you have these services that you offer for others up and coming. We'll talk about the university later. Tell me though, I mean, you even have a comic book involved from some of your characters. Do you have that artistic design or do you have the creative design?
Yeah, I'm kind of all over the place.
Someone else does the
but what I've
artistry.
realized is that
Are
I
you a
have to
drawer as well?
delegate. So I have an artist that does the artwork for me, and and he's wonderful. Richie, and I will consult with him when I'm wanting to design a new character because he thinks naturally in the forms of cartoons. So certain things that I wouldn't think to exaggerate, he will exaggerate. So I'll reach out to him from time to time, and so like for my character Bunky, who's a goofball redneck. I had a general sketch of the character, and some inspirations, and I kind of create like a Pinterest board or like a vision board for the puppet, and I send it to him, and I say, these are the main things that I want to translate, but everything else kind of exaggerate and put your flair on it. And he'll send me back stuff, and what he sent me back was a rough sketch of Bunky, and I think he had a like a goatee and a mustache or something. And so we'll kind of go back and forth a little bit until I can fully kind of see it as something that would pair next to me on stage. But that was probably a couple messages back and forth, and then we got the full thing, and I have him do a rendering in full color, and then I build the puppet. So it's a fun process, and I like having someone I can collaborate with because sometimes it helps get a different point of view, and sometimes I'm in my own head too much, which is easy to happen because I've got 5 people running around in there. So, yeah.
Gotcha. And then talk about the artistry involved in these performances, because you're not only making the puppets and then you're learning the craft of ventriloquism, so you're learning the voice part, but then you have to work about arm movements, I would think, and you're so funny naturally. You got to write a script for this. I mean, it's a lot of work.
I think the process
I can imagine one of these things
something
together.
else that
Talk
has
about the
evolved greatly
process
for
for
me.
you.
Right now, I'm writing my first hour show, and up to this point, I've done like 30-minute shows and things for all different audiences. But right now, I'm able to write my own show that I can promote and produce, and that in itself is, when you learn ventriloquism, you learn not to move your lips, and you want the puppet to be different from you, and you want the puppet to sound different. You want to keep the illusion alive, never show the puppet when it's dead, all that stuff. But now it's the production value. What's the theme of the show? Why are you placing the characters in the order you're placing them in? How do you make certain aspects unexpected? How do you keep it high energy? How do you make it edgy but not offensive? And how do you make it relatable and something where all ages, 18 plus, that's my job, can enjoy it. And that's my thought process right now. And again, I don't work alone. I've got people that are writers for me that offer different perspectives, that have been in entertainment for years, that are stand-up comedians that can go, well, this is the way that the dialogue should be, so it's not set up punch classical ventriloquist. This is more of a conversation, more of a sitcom, and this is the way you're going to want to go about this. And it has rewired my brain for the better. In terms of social media, it's all improvised. My live streams, all the clips you see right now on social media are improvised, because I don't want to give out the stuff that I spend hours on. So I just pull on a puppet and turn on a camera, and sometimes the videos hit, sometimes they don't, but it's all a game anyway. So I
love that. There you go. Well, go Team Landon for pulling that all together. That is amazing. What's been your most memorable performance to date for you so far? Do anything really sticks out in your mind of something you feel you really stuck, or something that went, oh my God?
Sure.
Or what's been the most memorable to you?
I got to perform for Dick Van Dyke, a couple years ago, and that was for the first time, and that was an amazing experience in itself. He does
Oh my
his wife puts on a Halloween show for the neighborhood. It's a closed event, and through some friends of mine, I was hanging out with them here in Vegas, and the Dick's wife saw a post that I was involved in with them and said, "Oh my gosh, could you get Landon?" Because she had followed me on TikTok, and she's like, "Could you get Landon to come to Halloween?" And they set it up, and this was probably a week ahead of time, and I was scheduled 2 days to then fly back to Texas. So I think I flew back to Texas and then flew back to Texas, and then I either flew into, I can't even remember. I'm so fuzzy on it. It was like 3 years ago. I think I flew into LAX. Yeah, flew into LAX. They picked me up, and then
God.
we were there in Malibu. Van Dyke and his wonderful wife Arlene, and just the people that are part of that show every year. And it's a fond memory that I'll hold in my heart for my lifetime.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah,
I
he is
bet.
such a
That is amazing. I
kind
mean,
man, such
he
a
is in
genuine
his
soul.
90s, is still such a kid at heart. You just see it in his expression. So I'm sure he loved every second of it. That had to be an amazing time. Wow. Very, very cool. Now you mentioned social media. How does social media? I mean, you've blown up on 1 point something million followers on TikTok. Obviously, you got great followers on YouTube. Talk about the impact on that. Are you able to? I think through your lives that I've seen it, you still very much
Wow,
are
that's a
yourself. Do you feel
complicated
yourself
question, Scott.
ever kind of starting to groom
Um,
yourself to your audience? And how do you
I
kind
don't,
of prevent that to keeping yourself
I don't
natural
think
and
I
kind of
groom myself
free
to my
like that?
audience. I think the reason why they follow me is why I began in all of this, and so I stay fairly genuine. Um, yeah, I think I try to before every live stream or video upload, I try to go, is this within my brand? Is this what I want to be represented saying? And is this creating enjoyment for someone else? And as long as it meets those requirements, then I go through it. That's kind of my process.
That's smart. That's the way you got to do it. I mean, and in
Absolutely.
some
Yeah.
way, I think even I watched one of yours a while back
Yeah, and
about
who knows? He might be
you
in
were
the
thinking of
works.
creating a
Yeah.
character that would cancel yourself halfway through, because we all got to be wary of that now with social media, right? So I think that's a great character idea down the line. Too funny. Nice. Now you talked about Terry. I mean, we had ventriloquism really kind of gave a comeback on AGT. We had Jeff Dunham, of course, and now Terry did an amazing job, and Darcy Lynn kind of paved the way. But you've been doing this all on your own. I mean, I think that would be better. America's Got Talent kind of owns you for a while after you do a show
Being
like
on
that.
reality
So
shows is a fickle
talk about
business.
the
I
benefits of
was
being on
called
your
to
own and starting
audition
from
for
scratch, and what
a
you've
show
learned from
called
these
Little
people that
Big
have been on
Shots. I don't
shows
know if
like
it's
that.
still on. It's an NBC produced show, and the host is Steve Harvey. And it's basically a kids talent show hosted by Steve Harvey. So the kid would go up there, do their 4 or 5 minutes, and then Steve Harvey interviews them. I was called to audition by a
Right.
casting director when I was 16. They emailed me and they said, "How old are you?" And I was 16, but I looked like I was 12. And told them, I'm 16, but I could pass as literally anything under 16. And they said, "Oh, well, unfortunately, our cutoff is 13 or whatever it was at the time." It was like I was like right behind it. Um, Later that season, Darcy Lynn was cast for Little Big Shots. She went on there. Then another NBC show picked her up called America's Got Talent. I was called to audition for that for the second year in Austin, Texas. I'm in the waiting room. What you see on TV is the filming room of AGT. What they don't show you is they've got a whole line of people that show up there to audition, and then they've got people separate that are reached out to by casting directors that are there at slot times. So you probably have to wait maybe like an hour, but
Right.
you're you're brought in, people already know your name, and you're kind of directed on where to go. So I'm with my dad. We're in Austin, Texas, and I'm rehearsing my little routine with my dummy scooter at the time, and I hear Landon, and I turn around, and it's Darcy and like 5 of her family entourage. And I'm like, yep, this is not my year. She later went on to win the show and has become a millionaire and toured, and now she's got a new album out, and all kinds of stuff. So it was a very I think in all honesty of being genuine, it was a very difficult thing for me at the time because I had been doing ventriloquism since I was 6, and this was my life. I didn't do sports, really belong to a lot of friend groups or anything outside of in terms of extracurriculars. And this girl that appeared out of nowhere that had been doing pageants for like a year came in and was living my dream life. And that was kind of that was a difficult thing to navigate. There was some jealousy, and then I kind of learned that this is her path, I have my path, and I kind of accepted it, and I had to realize, in what she does, she sings, and she is that kind of performer with ventriloquism, and I am more of a comedian with ventriloquism, and so I started to look at my craft as less of ventriloquism and more of comedy, and I realized that comedians have to struggle for years and work on their act for years before they are seen or make it. So I've since been called to audition for the show. I think they're running out of ventriloquists, but they've seen me grow up and evolve and switch out puppets and all of that. And I have since realized that I need to build my own show. And it's worked so far. People gravitate toward my stuff, and I really appreciate it. And maybe one day I'll go on AGT. But right now I'm having fun just kind of experimenting with different puppets and ideas and growing my audience, I would say, organically. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, you're doing it exactly right. And I think that has a lot of long-term effects as well, because I know a lot of people have been on reality shows from the LGBT different shows because they always have to have the gay on each show. And it kind of the same thing. It has that kind of, doesn't always have the staying power. It's a flash in the pan, or sometimes they're looking for a look. It doesn't matter what the talent is. They're looking for a certain casting look, like you said. So I agree 100%. How do you think your humor
try not to take an agenda with comedy. I try
and
to
raising awareness for what's
comedy is a
important to you?
difficult
Do
thing
you
because
have anything that
if you
kind
make
of
fun
are
of
causes that
any
you
of certain
champion?
people, it can be offensive. But then also not talking about them isn't really representing them. So it's like a fine line, Scott. I try to make sure that if I include a group or talk about a trait, that it is it's funny but not offensive, and if it is kind of taboo or offensive, that I will scold the puppet. So I try not to take a stance on anything. I am a court jester with puppets, is how I think of myself, and that's what I do. So I think in everything, I think if I were to say that I advocate for anything, it's to be yourself and realize that we all have a path of our own. We all have our journey that we have to explore and kind of grow into, I guess, would be what I've realized in my life so far, being 23, and what I try to advocate to everyone else, that everyone's story is different, and that you don't know the full of someone's story. I have there have been people within my community of ventriloquists that are older and that kind of see my stuff online and kind of judge it, or they go, oh, he's too pompous, or he's too this, or he's too that, but they don't know the 6-year-old me that was in a hospital bed that was having kidney stone surgery or going through epilepsy or all this other stuff. They don't know everything that's built the person to this point, and that's kind of what I have to remind myself going into this and meeting new people and everything in my career in entertainment, is that no one knows the full story and you don't know the full story. So you have to go in with kindness. You have to be empathetic as much as possible. And being a ventriloquist and having multiple personalities, I always try to put myself in someone else's shoes. Yeah.
Well said. And you handle it really quite well. Cause I mean, like I said, I watch a lot of your stuff. Our community in the LGBTQ could be a little pushy, we'll put it that way, and you handle that very well. You give pronouns out, and everything else is your business, and I love that. It's no one's business to ask you those kind of things, and I love that you've chosen your pronouns for it. You put that out there, and you let it aside. Then now it just lets your work speak for yourself. So good on you for doing that. I think that's very impressive to
Oh,
have that kind of
absolutely. You know, I
head on your
I love
shoulders to
that I
not let
have
those things affect
people
you. Some
that
people have
come
to get
to
really
laugh for them.
defensive. Some
So
people have
it's
to lean
wonderful.
in too far. So I really appreciate you for that as well, my friend.
Absolutely.
Well, I teased about this university. Let's talk about Ventriloquism University. An amazing idea, amazing concept, so many programs behind it. Talk about the brainchild of it and how's it going?
It's you know it's still it's live, but it's still in development. It's at this weird kind of not yet launched stage, but it's there if you want it. It's been my baby for about a year. I've had a lot of people message me going, how do I learn to be a ventriloquist? Where do I go? And I didn't want to do a 10-minute YouTube video. I really wanted to put my full creativity in on a project like this. So I reached out to all of my friends in the art of ventriloquism that have inspired me to talk on different markets and techniques and topics. And that is what Ventriloquist University is. It's not just me teaching you how to be ventriloquist. It's me interviewing people and us talking about markets and techniques that you need to learn if you're wanting to go into a career, or just as a fun fact, because the aspects of entertainment are complicated and confusing, and having someone there that has lived through it that can share their story is a real godsend. So um, that was the goal. My goal was to be the dean of this university and have all my friends be part of it. And up to this point, nothing like that has really been done before. So that's what I've created, and my goal is to build on it every year in terms of the content and what we have to offer, and to also foster the next generation of ventriloquists and build a community there.
That's amazing. Good on you for doing that. And that's the trouble. One of the troubles about being creative is you always have the next best idea in your head, right? So you always think of ways you want to improve
Yeah.
things. And so it's hard to finish a project sometimes, right? Because you have so many ideas of where
Yeah,
you
there's like
want to go.
15 things going on at once. Yeah.
I can imagine. Well, talk about that living in Vegas. I mean, you moved to Vegas primarily for the factory space to help start doing these creating, but Vegas is a place to go. There's a lounge in every hotel or something. Are you getting out there more? Talk about your performances. Do you kind of keep away from the audiences and like to stay on the video, or what's your preferences right now?
Well, I moved out in Vegas in August, and I have a great space out here. I have a lot of friends in entertainment, of course, and also being out in Vegas, there's so much production for these shows, and there's all these companies that build these materials that are great for public building, or for show production, which is what I'm doing. So up to this point, I haven't been performing in Las Vegas. I've been building my show to tour with. Um, but I've been out here. I realized I needed to move. I've been to Vegas a couple times. I loved it. And then I realized I need to move out of Texas because I need to feel the energy, and I feel it out here. I feel
Right.
I wake up, I get to work. Texas was just a bit too slow for me. And also being in Las Vegas where there's all these shows going on, you're around like minds. And as a creative, it's important to be around people that understand what you're doing and that
Right.
can foster, if not add to your creativity. And my family was very supportive, but it was still like, okay, Landon's over there, he's building a puppet, or he's doing something online or whatever. It's like they were supportive to a point, but it wasn't their lifestyle, and it's basically foreign to them. So it's kind of like one of those things. So up till now, I've been working with my team, developing my damaged goods tour, and we're hoping to launch that here soon. We'll see. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so the content that is in my written show is going to be, killer, but it has to match what you expect my live show to be after you see me on TikTok, or on social media. So
That's amazing.
it's a process again.
Oh, I bet. But congratulations on it. Just amazing with all the work that you're doing there. I love the whole land inventing. I think you branded yourself well, that it can go in so many different directions. So who came up with that
Thank
name?
you.
Did you come up with that yourself?
I think so. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was. I think I came up with it. I realized that I had to have a moniker and a name that was the same on all platforms. I don't know if it was my mom. I think my mom came up with the original dummy. Because we were talking about it. My dad's like, my dad is very business oriented. He's like, you need a name for your puppet company. And my mom's like, you should call it the original dummy. And they like laughed over it. I'm like, I'm not calling it. And I go, actually, I might call it that. So, yeah, I started doing land inventing, and then I had young ventriloquists that were fans of mine that would then take their name and put venting at the end of it for their socials, and that was really neat. And so kind of stuck with it. But I love the double entendre of, you vent in comedy, and then also venting is another way of saying, the act of doing ventriloquism. So.
Well, Landon, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I mean, you're just an amazing talent. You're way too young, but you have the best head of hair since Richard Marx, the singer. So I love that about you.
Oh, thanks.
And just great talent. A lot of my friends were saying, is he going to bring his puppet? Is he going to bring his puppet? I said, no, he does his thing. You can watch his stuff. I do my thing as talking to people. Let everyone know, though, where they can find you on your socials and things like that. Your website's phenomenal.
Do you want to talk to one of them?
If you want, sure. I didn't want no pressure, but if you want to.
No, it's fine. I just sit here and look like an idiot. Hey there. Okay, this is Jackie. He is a jackalope. I'm from Wyoming. I know. This is great. I love being on a podcast at, 11 a.m.? Yeah, I've had my coffee. Yes, all 4 cups. Yeah.
Cheers, Jackie. Welcome to the Left of Str8 Show. Amazing to have you on. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Happy to be here. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. I've had to sit down there and listen to Landon babble for like half an hour. Fine. You're be nice. All right. Yeah, so this is Jackie. He's probably one of my main characters. He's 3 years old. The actual idea and creation of him. And yeah, took God knows how long to do, because he's made out for right. And I created and built him. So yeah, sewing fur, you have to sew it inside out and then cover it. It's a process. It is, yes. You can see all photos of my creation on my OnlyFurs page. OnlyFurs, yes. Okay, that's great.
Ooh, like a little spicy there, Jackie. A little spicy. I don't know if my audience can handle that. Goodness.
Well, we have options. That's great. Yeah, but I'm happy to be here. Yeah, and
does Landon treat you well there, Jackie? Does Landon take care of you, or what's the living situation there like in Vegas? I heard he kept you in a trunk for 2 weeks on the move there.
Yes, with an old man and a dead guy, which is like 2 dead guys. Yeah, it was not fun, but I did get out every once in a while and get treats, so that was good. Yeah. Do you like living with me? It's okay. There's a lot of puppets, and Landon doesn't get out much, which is why I think he became a ventriloquist, so he can keep himself entertained. Right? Yeah, I've got a captive audience of yourselves, right?
Well,
Awesome.
Thank you for popping by, Jackie. I appreciate you taking the time. It's amazing for you to share Landon with me. I'm sorry you had to wait down there all this time.
Oh, no, it's great. I got a good half-hour nap. Yeah, thanks. You're welcome. All right. I got to run. All right. Thanks for popping in. Yep. Whoa. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that's Jackie.
Amazing. Thank you for that, my friend. I appreciate it. All right. Well, share everyone where they can find these fantastic journeys on TikTok and your wonderful website. And if they need a puppet built, where they can find that.
Yeah. So the original dummy for your puppet needs, it's on Instagram and theoriginaldummy.com. Landon Venting, LandonVenting, or you can search up Landon Harvey on all social media. LandonHarvey.com for tour dates once that goes live, and that's it.
Amazing. Stay on the line for me, Landon. I really appreciate you coming on. Guys, that's Landon Harvey. He'll be back next Tuesday for a special 5 Questions With. Be sure to look for that. We'll have all the links to Landon down below. We appreciate you listening every week here on the Left of Str8 Show podcast, and you have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Left of Str8 Show. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast distributor, and please give us a 5-star rating so more listeners can find us. You can follow us on social media, and be sure to check out our website, www.leftofstraightradio.com, for contests and other news and information. See you next week.